The following is a presentation of NoVA Hackers, brought to you by Compute Cycle.
Broke, it was like, I'll go and get another one off Amazon.
Did you pocket the other $3,000?
No, it didn't get budgeted, so I really had to ratchet it down to $100. So this is how my $100 project came about. Someone else at the conference did stuff on like banking Trojans. Another one did on wireless internet, like don't hook up or don't connect to wireless in airports. The stuff that people here, I think, pretty much generally know what that is. With the risks associated with that. So what I did is I gave this presentation, and we did it to a lot of people that were journalists, and we just discussed what could be a problem if you have stuff in your house that's hooked up. And mind you, after I did this project, my boyfriend and I are now looking at Nest. We're trying to figure out how Nest works, and there are a lot of things that are quite interesting about accessing them remotely. Okay, so I was going to do a demonstration, and not to feed into the conference or the presentation that Sarah did on sexism, but I was going to make everyone coffee. I was going to bring it right here and make everyone coffee, but it's not working right now. So I have a video I'm going to show you. So I'm doing the demo that way. One of the things that I was trying to explain is with embedded devices did you know that these devices are in these? And I think everyone here does. Maybe not the one on the right, but the one on the left. I had to put in this outrageous car because I've actually seen these at Dulles Airport. They're pretty amazing. But this one has embedded systems. Your cars do. And actually, that was the last presentation I did with someone in this room about hacking car computers I think it was about a year and a half ago. So what happens when your devices are connected on the internet? And when we were doing the car security, car hacking research, how the car connected to the phone. If there was something you could get onto the phone, malware, for instance, that we could push onto the car, that was one of the things that we looked at. Is that possible to do? How easy is it for anyone to do it? And what would you need to know about security if, for instance, you were one of the OEMs? You were designing these cars that were supposed to be ease of access to access everything on your phone, your contacts, your music, stuff like that. Medical devices is true, but one thing that I wanted to look at was, what about with a coffee maker? Now, my crappy $16 one is not an embedded device, so I kind of made the coffee maker an embedded device. But I did that by the Arduino, but clearly it wasn't embedded. I used an example of all the things that go on in some of the high-end cars right now. But it isn't just high-end cars, because if you look back, this article was written in 2009. You get a lot of cars on the low end, such as Ford Sync is a very interesting one that's been getting a lot of discussion recently about how much you can access in the car. What would you be able to do with a lot of these devices? So one of the things that Kaspersky, my group, tasked us with is, what could we hack in the real world? Cars were being done, and they're being done right now. I couldn't do the fridge because that was expensive, and I was afraid I was going to break it. And although I sure would have liked to have even kept the broken $3,000 fridge, but actually, that's closer to Ford. That's an excellent fridge. But you can access Facebook and Twitter on the fridge. What I wanted to figure out was, could you access your refrigerator remotely? And that question, I don't know. But so I moved on to something, so what I could do. Someone else gave a presentation at this. Kurt Baumgartner did a presentation on unprotected wireless networks in San Francisco. And this was something we pulled on the date in September. But there were a lot that you could just get right on. There was no password required. So if these are people's houses and they have stuff like Nest or a coffee maker like this, what kind of badness could we do? And this is part of what our group looks at, is the threat landscape. What could we do? So what I wanted to figure out is, could we hack my coffee maker, and how easy that might be. So I was going to make coffee using Twitter. So I don't have the demo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the video. And I did this video just in case, the day before the presentation, if everything went wrong for PR, I was going to pull up this video and show it to them, because there was a lot we took to get here. Actually, it was we had something called a power switch tail, and you'll see it in this. And I'll describe to you a little bit about how it went through 2 fires and a flood, and I got to the presentation in San Francisco, and it had burned up in Africa. So I'll tell you a little bit about the story. Let me show you the video, but this is more like a presentation about what it takes when you're trying to do demos and figure out how things work. I am not a hardware engineer, so this was all new to me, and so I went ahead and said, all right, I'll see what I can do and what's possible with this. So here's the video. Sorry, it's blurry. Again, this was like a last minute type of if it doesn't work, I'm going to take this video. But instead of looking at the screens, I'll show you more about what it does. So what I did is I set up a Twitter account. And what I'm doing now here is I'm telling the Twitter account, make coffee. And the name of the Twitter account is make_coffee. So there is the $16 coffee maker. That is the power switch tail. And there's the Arduino right there. And what I'm doing is when the Twitter account, when it receives any type of command, make coffee, stop making coffee, anything like that, it'll start. And what it does is it turns on the coffee maker, and you can hear it. I can hear it, but you can't hear it. It's beginning to make the coffee. And if I were to do this over again, the problem I had with this coffee maker is when I looked on Amazon, it looked like it had a toggle switch like those old ones for the 90s, but it had a spring-loaded switch. So the duct tape on the front is I had to duct tape the switch in the on position. So there are a lot of fire hazards with this project. And, and yeah, I'll tell you, we actually had a bit of a problem in a hotel in Africa with it, but it was one of these things. I was traveling, I'm like, oh, the deadline's coming up for this presentation. So my boyfriend and I went to Africa for a project, and I brought this with me. And we're in this gorgeous 5-star hotel in Ghana. And we were arguing over whether this plug to fit into the plugs there was actually like an inverter or if it was just one of the things that changed the shape of the plug. So I'm like, it doesn't matter, the code's not working, just plug it in. We weren't sure if the code was going to work. We plugged it in, and there was this explosion in the lobby and fire. Yeah. So, yeah, and there was some guys that got it on YouTube. So if anyone can find me in Africa catching this thing on fire, I'll give you $20, but it's out there somewhere. But these guys started videotaping us as we're like, unplug it, turn it off. But it was already on and going. But we definitely blew out some fuses in this really nice hotel. But we wanted to say we're American. I've done this with hair care, products like blow dryers, but I've never done it with this. But it kind of looks like it's a little bit concerning if you saw these people plugging this stuff in a hotel lobby. So all right, so this is how this product works, and I'll tell you now from the presentation how I got this, where to get this code, and what kind of work I think it needs to actually be something that would be that'd be very useful. It's not as useful now because the code actually times out. I figured this out the hard way when I plugged in my crock pot, because I'm like, this is great. My crock pot was an old school one that didn't have a timer on it. And I'm like, I'd like to be able, as I'm heading home from work, just to be able to say, turn crock pot off, tweet to this account, and have it shut off the crock pot. But when I actually came to look at the crock pot, it was still on because the code had timed out. And so this code is not exactly like something that you could put in a product and sell. So don't even try it. But here it is, the $16.60 coffee maker. I would get one with a different button if you want to do this. Now, mind you, this can be anything, and this is the point I tried to get through to the press when we did this presentation. It could be a crock pot, it could be a garage door opener, it could be anything that the convenience of being able to say to a Twitter account, turn this, turn this device on. So a space heater was another one. So another one of the ones I'd be concerned about, the fire concerned about this project. But the Arduino was $24. The PowerTail, now that one I had two, because one PowerTail blew up in Africa, and so the day before the presentation I had to we ordered another one from Makershed and had to FedEx it next day to San Francisco. And then a person in this room, I sent it to his apartment, and they'd had a fire in the building that day. So I was like, this project is doomed to this demo is not going to work. Yeah, they're this. I mean, with fire and all that, and also I was in a grass hut in Africa when we discovered grass huts don't really keep rain out. So the power tail switch and the Arduino got rained on as well. So it's actually quite amazing when I finally got to San Francisco to do this. It got done and it worked. So I was like, all right, it worked. What is that? And actually, the coffee it makes is terrible. It really is. That's why I put a sticker over the Black & Decker when I did this for the press. But the coffee was pretty bad. So if you do go to Instructables, so if you look up on Instructables, like tweet a pot, the code is there. You'll need a little bit of experience, like reading and writing the code. It does not work with newer versions of Python, just a heads up on that. Maybe a lot doesn't, because that's what I guess we've heard about with Python. It's not as good backwards compatible. Go get the Tweetapot from Instructables. And again, you don't have to hook a coffee maker up to this. Anything you could think of, the convenience with Twitter, I thought, was what was interesting about this to me. This is what the full setup looks like. The power tail switch, again, is that was the most delicate. I have duct tape on it for the demo too, because I got to San Francisco and I didn't have those little screwdrivers for eyeglasses, because you got to put the two cords into it. Pretty much it's an on-off power switch. So a lot of duct tape, a lot of kind of working through what hardware engineers must go through every day. I have a lot of respect for people that put together these products and get all the bugs out of them. The bugs are not all out of this one, but I'd hope to explain to the journalists that there's a lot in people's houses that's hooked straight up to the internet. People's Wi-Fi isn't password protected. And one of the things I did for this Twitter account, and I know Password Hacker is in this room, but one of the things I'd done is I'd set up a very easy password for the Twitter account. And I was in Iceland giving a presentation, and one of the journalists wrote about this and said, yeah, and she has this really easy password, she says, set up on the Twitter account. And that's when I kind of freaked out and said, oh my gosh, I follow Eugene Kaspersky, my boss, on this account. So I quickly went in and made it a better password. But I tried to educate people on the need for having a very complicated passphrase, especially for your Wi-Fi. If you have stuff like this sitting around in your house, just getting people more aware of better security practices. And having a project like this, it looks very rudimentary, but it was a very basic explanation of this is what you can do. So that's why some of the journalists thought it was a lot of fun to see me trying to get this thing working as well. So yeah, this is the hang-ups. That's my work phone. That's my internet connection, and look, see the plug? The green light was on. This is in Africa, and we're like, oh, that's okay. The green light's on. It must be working, because we're such brilliant, engineers. If the green light's on, it's all go. But no, that's where we had the fire and lost the first power tail switch. So this is the account I set up. You can follow it, but it doesn't do much. Especially, I thought it would be doing something today, and it's not. But all I do is I send a tweet, any word, to make coffee. Oh, and I got to put in the hashtag. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I had to put a hashtag in for it, and then it makes the coffee. So if you look on the account, you can see, and I follow. It's telling me to follow Kevin Mitnick and HD Moore, and it totally looks like a bot. So I don't actually. You see, if you can get into the account, you can. Now, that's not a challenge, but. I did. No, I'm kidding. It has a very good password on it now. At least, okay, now I'm going to probably regret I said that. But this was the Twitter account I set up for it. Yeah, I do. So as N, of course, there is I don't know, I guess following after what you said, Mubix, don't hack my coffee, but it really was more about don't hack my type of stuff in my house if I don't have passwords on my Wi-Fi and everything's connected and my Nest is connected, all of that. So if you have any questions, you can email me, but I don't do this full time with the hardware hacking. So, and I definitely won't answer any questions about good coffee, because as I learned from the last presentation, I don't know what good coffee is apparently. I have the Keurig, right? So, but anyway, this is what I did, and it's kind of fun, and the great team does some pretty fun projects, and I've enjoyed having the leisure to actually do this for the global analysis and research team. this isn't something I did at my last job. It's just like, let's see if we can build it. So I give a lot of kudos to my company for letting us just experiment in stuff that is totally outside of our field, just to see if we can do it. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. But are there any questions on the Instructables or the Tweetapot? Okay. Oh, there's one.
Not necessarily on that, but you described it as one of the IoTs, something that I'm kind of into. A product line you might be looking at would be the Think line from LG. I'm not going to say they're vulnerable products that are very, very expensive, but if you find some of their least expensive or lesser expensive things, like not the ovens, refrigerators, and the like, but some of the lesser expensive items such as small appliances, microwaves and the like, you might find some vulnerability.
Microwave has a very distinctive UID.
Yeah, you might find some interesting things, and the only protections they state that you should have is the person should protect their access point, because everybody does.
Yeah.
So
right.
You know, that's where they believe that your protection should come from, and if error codes fall down on like certain products such as their refrigerator, they don't trust that error code to go across the internet. You have to call their support line, and it plays a melodic tone to indicate what the error is back to the phone. So the thing that they put your system on, your device, your Internet of Things device, they don't trust to send their own error codes across. And no one's gotten through what those melodic error codes are yet, but I do know some people that work on it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about melodic error codes or melodic tones creating things. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for that information. If I ever do get a budget to hack a refrigerator, I'll choose one of those. Yes, and that's what I would have liked.
They
but
still make horrible coffee.
Okay, thank you.
This has been a presentation of NoVA Hackers, brought to you by ComputeCycle, a Cranial Thunder production.